Palmer Show. You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in! Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. It means we're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. And lots to get to over the next 2 hours. Billy Embody is going to be with us in 30 minutes. Big high school recruiting weekend for LSU football. Cajun Bash. Also included a commitment from Jabari Antoine, so we'll talk about that with Billy. And On3 has shaken up their rankings finally for the class of 2024. Movers like Dominic McKinley moving on up, Tradez Green moving on up. Saw a number of guys, Kyle and Billiot moving on up. So LSU's class looking a little bit better on paper, according to the folks on On3. We'll talk to Billy Embody about all of that coming up in 30 minutes. I want to talk a little bit about Gage Jump, new left-handed pitcher on the LSU baseball team that met with the media back on Friday. We got to talk Saints offensive coordinator and Michael Thomas sending out tweets. We'll do that in the second hour as well. We'll talk NFL because it was a really fun day watching football yesterday. But I will start with LSU and Alabama Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. You know the result by now. You probably watched. And, if you look at LSU's box score, man, first half, scored 44 points. Knocked down almost 50% of your field goal attempts. Didn't turn the ball over. It was really crisp and efficient offense. And they turned around in the second half and, didn't turn the ball over a ton and knocked down 6 threes. Wow. Offensively, that's a heck of a day. 88 points. That's really good work in Coleman Coliseum. The defense was completely non-existent. Alabama did whatever it wanted, whenever it wanted, for the entirety of the 40 minutes of the contest. And when the dust is settled, the Tide had rolled up 109 points in the game. Alabama shot 41% from three. They shot 56% from the floor. They made 25 of their 28 free throws. Had 23 assists in the ball game. It was clinical. And I tweeted this out, and I don't, 2 days later, I feel exactly the same. I dislike Nate Oates. A lot of it's because of the team he coaches. Some of it's because of the things that have happened in the past between LSU and Alabama. And I still dislike Nate Oates. He's a great basketball coach. And he has created a culture and a program that believes so strongly in the way that it operates on the offensive side of the floor, and they're great at it. You know by now what their credo is. Everyone does, but you still don't stop it. They only shoot layups, threes, and free throws. And in this game, they shot layups, threes, and free throws, and he recruits guys that make layups and threes and free throws. And that's why they have the number one offensive efficiency in college basketball. LSU defensively has a lot of strong metrics. They're way up there in steal percentage. Field goal percentage defense has been strong. Their defensive efficiency rating is pretty good. But I think a lot of that is against Texas A&M. Is against North Florida. You go to Auburn, they light you up for 90. You go to Tuscaloosa, they light you up for 109. I was brought back to a high school game of mine watching this game. Not that anybody cares too much about my high school basketball career, but we had one good team when I was in high school. I was a junior. We had basically 5 guys that could play. And we ran a bunch of screens, and we ran a bunch of clock, and we shot threes just like you'd imagine little small private school would do. And that was our identity, and we were pretty good at it. We beat Ruston High School, big 5A school, playing that way. It was frustrating for teams to deal with us. Well, we got into the playoffs, and we played against Lakeview, who was a top 5 team in the state. We were nowhere near that, but we'd won a playoff game for the first time in like 11 years at Loyola. It was second round of the playoffs, and we go out in the first quarter against Lakeview's athletic and just scores a bunch. They're high flying. They're really, really good. And we're running the Princeton offense. And we played great in the first half, in the first quarter. But the score was 25-25. We would win games in the 50s. Not quick math. 25-25 after one quarter means you're headed towards 100. And the moral is like one team can sustain that and the other one couldn't, and we absolutely couldn't, and I think we got beat by 20 in the second quarter. But LSU came out and played so well in this game offensively, but so did Alabama, and the feeling was LSU just can't keep up this pace with Alabama. And they kept saying on the telecast, Matt McMahon told us this morning, like, they're at their best when they're moving and free-flowing and going fast and creating some tempo. Well, that's playing right into Alabama's hands. And the Tide just never stopped. Wright-Sell made 5 threes. Estrada made a couple of threes. I mean, you got a bad game in terms of shooting-wise from Mark Sears, who's Bama's best offensive player. He was 0 of 5 from three-point range, but he got to the line and made 11 free throws. And, again, LSU hangs his hat on being a team that creates steals and turnovers. They turned Alabama over 12 times in a game that had a ton of possessions. As frustrating as it was to watch LSU play that game, because Bama kept scoring and kept scoring and kept scoring, and to give up 109 points in a conference basketball game doesn't happen very often. And that's really, really frustrating. The fact of the matter is that LSU is just not on Alabama's level. And they're not on Auburn's level, and they're not on Tennessee's level. They're on Ole Miss's level. They're on A&M's level. They're on Arkansas's level. We'll see that on Saturday. They were on Georgia's level. They're not on Alabama's level. And we sit here and we talk about LSU sports all the time, and we don't ever have that discussion from a baseball perspective. We don't have that discussion from a football perspective. We don't talk about that with women's basketball anymore. It's not even really the case with softball, certainly not with gymnastics. But with men's basketball, like, that's just something over the course of an 18-game conference schedule I'm going to have to say a few times. Well, we go into this game, you're just not going to win. They're not going to go to Auburn and win. They're not going to go to Tuscaloosa and win. That's as good as they can play on offense. And Alabama still won by 11 points. Sorry, 21 points. 21 points. That's a defeated way to look at it, but it is what it is. You played as good as you could play on offense and lost by 21. That's basically my takeaway from that game. And you can look at the statistics, and I liked Mike Williams coming out and knocking down a couple early threes. I think there's something in him. Jalen Cook made 3 more threes. It wasn't a high percentage because he took 9 of them to get there, but he was really fighting it 2 weeks ago shooting the ball. He's seen a couple go in. I'd really like it if Jalen Cook in that game would, attempt a free throw. That to me would suggest he was attacking a little bit more, but he didn't. But you shot almost 40% from 3. You had 7 guys make a 3. Fountain hit a couple. Mwani made his one. Jalen Reed made his. Will Baker had a 3. Jordan Wright had a 3. Jalen Cook hit 3 of them. Mike Williams hit 2. Your assist total is still not where you'd like it to be. On 30 makes, you only had 13 assists, but Jordan Wright had 5 of them. Like, I could go through the stat sheet and give you some positive anecdotes, but LSU doesn't finish well enough at the rim. Another instance where this is the case. And layups on this game, which are shots around the rim, and some of them are contested, some of them are not. 13 of 32. You're not even a 50% layup shooting team. And you still scored 88 points. But it's just, that's one of those games you look at and you just chalk it up as an L before they even tip it off, and that's a bummer.
Can this also possibly go against maybe Matt McMahon's philosophy in terms of going into this game? Like, they needed to slow the pace down.
Yeah, I would, but
that's the only way. I mean, you're not going to outscore Alabama with LSU's team.
No, I would have liked them to slow things down, but if you take yourself out of your game, And maybe there's just not I don't slow or fast. I don't think they're gonna do anything. And there's not a ton of these games on the schedule. Like as I look at it, they really need to win on Saturday. We'll talk about that later in the week. They need to beat Arkansas at home because right now you're a team that has lost 3 conference games in a row. If you were to lose to Arkansas, that would be 4. Then you're at Tennessee, that's 5. Bama comes here, that's probably 6. Then you're at Florida and South Carolina, maybe 7, 8. Kentucky comes here, that could be 9. Mississippi State at home might be your next one. That's February 24th. But the end of the schedule, like we've talked about, is very manageable. It's Mississippi State at home, it's Georgia at home, it's at Vanderbilt, and at Arkansas, home Missouri. All those games are winnable. But the problem is if you lose 9 games in a row before you get there, then who cares?
And even Mississippi State, I mean, they've got 2 top 10 wins.
They do in Starkville.
Right.
But that was impressive what they did to Auburn over the weekend. So it's a bummer. Like I talked about on Friday when I was going through some of the best players in the SEC, Dalton Knecht and Mark Sears and all these guys that are transfers. Like that's kind of how you do this thing. And that's fine. I'd love it if LSU went and got some transfers and revamped the entire team. But it makes it very difficult for me to talk about Matt McMahon attempting to build a program when I don't know if any of the players on the team are going to be on the team next year, and I don't know who the stars of next year's team are going to be because they probably don't even play here. So it's just it doesn't change what the team's going to look like next year. Like it just makes it harder to talk about, like from our perspective, because nobody really wants to get into the nuances of how you have lost 3 games in a row with this sport and this team right now, because everyone knows like they're not an NCAA tournament team. They're probably not an NIT team. Like you're just kind of playing out the string. And so the natural conversation would be, well, what young players can you count on in the years to come? Well, I could tell you that I think Michael Williams is coming along well. I don't know where he's going to play next year. I could tell you Tyrell Ward and Jalen Reed are sophomores with a lot of talent, but I don't know if they're going to be back next year. And maybe they bring in 5 transfers that start. It's harder to have the conversation about like, well, is he building a program? Is there incremental improvement when the transfer portal makes this sport so hard to predict year to year? So just go game to game, I guess. And the next game is LSU and Arkansas coming up on Saturday. They'll have the week off this midweek. Everybody gets one of those during the SEC slate, and this will be LSU's week that they do not play a midweek game. LSU and Arkansas, 11 o'clock from the PMAC coming up on Saturday. Tigers lose it by 21 in Tuscaloosa over the weekend. All right, and we'll take time out when we come back. It was a crazy day in the NFL yesterday. I'll give you some of my thoughts on it next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206 9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always custom.
Charles Hennigrove joined me and Jimmy Ott for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City. Andy Isco joins us from Las Vegas, and we do first class, second class, no class, Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Tuesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Really fun day of football watching yesterday in the National Football League Championship Sunday. Had the AFC game early, NFC game late. And it's been really all anyone's talked about all day, so I'm certain if you've listened to any, whether it's OTB, well, OTB is the Senior Bowl, so they probably didn't talk about it as much, but I know Jimmy and Charlie spent a lot of time on it. The national shows have been all over it. If you watch any national television, they've been all over it, and it's all kind of centered around the same stuff. It's all Mahomes is brilliant, Lamar choked, Dan Campbell, what is he doing making these decisions? That's been the bulk of the conversation, and I would echo a lot of it. We can start with the Lions last night. I thought Dan Campbell made such a quality decision to kick that field goal right before the half. You were right there near the goal line. It could be your instinct to want to be tough and physical and take control of the game and go up 21 points. But the fact of the matter is, to take the decision to go up 17 points at halftime against Brock Purdy, I think is a really good idea. And he did that. And that was the last time he made a conservative decision. He was pedal to the metal the rest of the way, and I think it cost his team. I really do. Like, I would have kicked the field goal on that 4th and 3. I know that Reynolds has got to make that catch. It's not a good throw. It's a tough catch to make, but he's an NFL wide receiver. He's got to make that catch. And I thought that was a poor decision on Campbell's part. I know their field goal kicker hasn't been great, but when you're down 3 and you get into field goal range with that little time on the clock, like, this is not overthink it time. You kick the field goal, you take the points. If you're trying to steal a game, I can see playing like that. If you're Mississippi State and you've got a chance to go beat Alabama, I can see trying to do that. The Lions are as good as the 49ers. They certainly were last night. And you've got to kick that field goal and extend the game. Now, here's something that I haven't heard anyone talk about whatsoever. And you never see any coaches really do this either. But this is a way I would approach the situation the Lions were in the last time they had the football. Beck, tell me if you think this is nuts. They were down 10 points with the ball and about a minute to go.
Yeah.
More than a minute, like a minute 40 something.
Yeah.
I think you have almost no chance of recovering an onside kick with the new rules. That is not a viable option in my opinion.
I think the percentages are probably somewhere in like 5 to 10%.
Just awful, I think. Here, what about this plan? Down 10, all 3 timeouts, which they had at this point. Once you get to about the 30, kick the field goal. You kick the field goal, hope to make it from 47. He's an NFL kicker. He ought to make it. Then you've got 3 timeouts and a minute 40 to go. I would kick deep and try to get a 3 and out. And then try to go score a touchdown with a minute to go. And no one ever does that. And the Lions ran the clock all the way down inside 30 seconds, and then they're trying to kick an onside kick, which I think your chances are almost none. I don't like your chances of making a 47-yarder and then immediately getting him a 3 and out and getting the ball back with a minute to go and no timeouts, having to go score a touchdown. But no one ever does that, and I feel like it's a better option in my opinion.
Well, they certainly screwed up whenever they were in the red zone. They ran the ball,
and they're taking their own timeouts.
Had to use one of the timeouts. That was definitely not smart.
And so, at that point, you're just cooked. I was sitting there in my group chat, and I was like, kick the field goal, and no one ever does that. Candidly, and this will worsen my point. It'll make me sound dumber. I used to do that when I was playing on Xbox back in the day. Take the field goal immediately and then save my timeouts and try. But obviously, the NFL not exactly Xbox material. But no one ever thinks that way or brings it up. And maybe I was just anti Dan Campbell at that point because I hated the decisions he had made to go for it. But I would have considered that. He didn't, and it's going to be a long offseason for the Detroit Lions. And Campbell was right on in his post-game press conference when he said it is going to be so much harder to get back to the NFC Championship game than it was to get there this year. There's something about getting that high up the mountain and then getting kicked all the way to the bottom. It's just hard to ramp it back up and restart. And so it's going to be tough for the people of Detroit. I can't imagine the mood swings from being up 17 at halftime and potentially going to your first Super Bowl ever, and what the energy was like in the city of Detroit last night, and then to have it just absolutely crumble in the second half is a tough scene.
Well, and I understand your points, and a lot of people are making these points about the decisions to go for on fourth down that ended up proving costly. But you could also say that, and I know a lot of people are also saying this, the Lions have played this way all season. They've gone for it on fourth down more than anyone else, and that's been their philosophy, and they stuck to it in this game, and it's going to be ostracized because it was the NFC Championship. But that's just the way they've played, and so in my opinion, I don't disagree with the decisions to go for it because that's what they've done all season. That's the way they've played.
And that was a point my buddy was making in the group text. He's like, you can't go for it all year and then stop at the end. I said, yeah, you can. You're
right.
Can.
You can.
You literally can.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the way that I would have played it. On the AFC side, the Ravens just choked. I mean, from the game planning to the play on the field, only running it 6 times all game. Zay Flowers, that is as confounding a 10 minutes of decision making as I have ever seen. That in my opinion is someone who is not thinking about winning and losing with every decision they make. It's just impulsive and crazy. The taunting penalty was so dumb and so obvious. Then I'm not going to hammer him for reaching the ball out at the goal line. That's an instinct, and you're really trying to make a play, but you really don't need to do that. You can't expose the football that close to the goal line, understanding the consequences there. And then to lacerate his hand on the bench because he made a mistake, just compounding poor decision after poor decision by Zay Flowers. And then the biggest poor decision was Lamar Jackson throwing that thing into triple coverage, which was just awful. He just played a terrible football game, and it happens sometimes. And no matter the sport, sometimes you go out there and you just don't have it, and he didn't have it. And for some reason, that just doesn't appear to happen to Patrick Mahomes. Every time I watch him play, and I don't have Red Zone, and I don't really gamble on sports, so I don't watch the Chiefs every week. I watch the Chiefs some. They're on CBS in the 3 o'clock window a lot. So I see him some, but not every week. But every time I do watch Patrick Mahomes play, no one makes it look as easy as him. He looks like he's so comfortable. Sometimes he rips a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Sometimes he knows he has to use a little bit of touch and flip a pass out there. He never looks like he's rushed or doing anything that's difficult. He just looks completely in control all the time. And he's paired with one of the greatest coaches ever, who I still think is underrated, and they got the defense fixed. And it's very young and it's very good. And what they did to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, who had been rolling up 30-plus on just about everybody, to hold them to 10 was just ridiculous. And Mahomes is going to win that one every time. And Kelsey founds the playoff fountain of youth. He wasn't really good all year. And then all of a sudden, playoffs come around, and he's just making monster catch after monster catch. A lot of people are tired of the Chiefs. I'm not. I think they're awesome, and I will enjoy watching them play for another Super Bowl. I find Patrick Mahomes plenty likable. I don't really care if they cut to Taylor Swift in the suite 7 times during the game. That's not really going to affect my viewing of the football game. They're just really, really good. And I thought the Ravens, between Lamar not playing well and Flowers doing all these kinds of things and not calling running plays, they just found a really brutal time to come up with their worst effort of the season. And I thought, look, I picked the Ravens to win and the Lions to win. I went 0-2 on those. Surprise, surprise. But I was impressed with the 2 winning teams. San Francisco for scoring every time they got the ball in the second half and taking control of that game. And then the Chiefs for just being the unstoppable force that they seem to be.
One of the most improbable plays of all time, Lamar Jackson throwing that ball into the line of scrimmage and bouncing up and him catching it and running for first down, will probably not be remembered because they lost.
Yeah, the most memorable tip pass from yesterday is going to be off the face mask.
Well, yeah, the
in the other game.
Yeah.
So that'll be the one that people certainly remember. I think it'll be a really good Super Bowl. I think that the 49ers are a complete team with a great coaching staff and a lot of really, really good players. They should be healthier. Debo will be healthier in 2 weeks, and we know what the Chiefs are. They're just they kind of slogged through the regular season, and then playoff time hits. And I mean, look, you go to Buffalo and beat that team that's got a great quarterback and a really good franchise, and then you go to Baltimore and beat the team that's been the best start to finish in the NFL. The Chiefs are earning this one, and they've got to do it one more time against what we all think is the best team in the NFC all season long. That's San Francisco. So great day of football watching in the National Football League. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. We'll talk a little bit more about it as the week comes on. I got some LSU baseball I want to get to in the second hour. Also, some Saints talk about their offensive coordinator. But huge recruiting weekend for LSU over the weekend. And On3 put together their final ranking of the 2024 high school class. Some LSU guys have gotten some bumps up. We'll talk about all that and some more with Billy Embody next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. Check it out. It's got testimonials from satisfied customers. Got pictures of the great work they do over there at One Bath and Closets. And it's got the ability to get that free consultation I tell you about every single day. David Duvall and his team have been doing this for 30 years. They can handle it. They'll come to your home. They'll start you off with a questionnaire. What you want? What do you have? And they'll show you what they can do for you. If you're worried about paying for the bathroom of your dreams or a customized closet, financing options are available. But you've got to have the discussion first with David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets. Check out the website, OneBathAndClosets.com, OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Join MMR and ignite your career today. MMR is the largest electrical and instrumentation contractor in the nation, and they're seeking talented individuals to join their team. For over 3 decades, they've been headquartered right here in Baton Rouge, and they have offices all around the globe.
And MMR offers a tailored path for both professional and personal development, outstanding benefits, and a dynamic culture. So whether you're an intern, a seasoned pro, or you're just starting out, see what MMR can offer you. Apply at mmrgrp.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. Austin Thomas returning to LSU football. What does it mean for Brian Kelly's program? And Super Bowl 58 will be set. We'll preview it. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You know, recruiting never stops. Never stops. This would have been the time of the year we would have been just like full steam ahead on recruiting as of like 5 or 8 years ago. Now, most of the hay is in the barn in the early signing period back in December, and February is just for the last couple of pieces to a class, or maybe nothing at all in some situations. So we'll talk about all of that and some more with Billy Embody, part of the Bengal Tiger family over there on 3. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Billy, how are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We appreciate you taking some time for us. It was a great weekend for LSU. Got a commitment on the recruiting trail. Jabari Antoine, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Jabari Antoine is one of my favorite prospects in Louisiana next cycle, and we have him as a top 20 prospect in the country for on 3, nation's number 3 cornerback and the second ranked prospect in Louisiana in the class of 2025 behind LSU commit Harlan Berry. And what it means for LSU is they're continuing to clean up in Louisiana. They have, looking at the list right now, 6 of the top 8 in Louisiana committed already for the class of 2025 for on 3, with the other 2, James Simon and Devin Harper, 2 teammates now at Calvary Baptist, pegged on the on 3 recruiting prediction machine to land at LSU. So Corey Raymond gets a big defensive back commitment quickly since arriving back at LSU. But this one has quietly been in the works for a while now, and LSU has been making up ground enough to get him to make this early commitment. Texas was really long viewed as the threat for LSU in terms of being able to land him. They had gotten Derek Williams out of Westgate a couple cycles ago now, and LSU signed Demarion Johnson from Westgate this fall. But it was really an LSU-Texas battle. And this fall, if you asked around, you probably would have gotten differing sides on where the leader was in that recruitment. But credit to the entire coaching staff that is still at LSU for continuing to put the pedal down on Jabari Antoine, who's a little different than a guy like Derek Williams. Derek Williams never really showed LSU much interest, never really came on visits once his recruitment kind of got into the back half. Jabari has been constantly in Baton Rouge and spending time around with Frank Wilson and Sherman Wilson and J.R. Belton and all these different guys on staff that, handle a lot of the recruiting of these guys and communicating with players. And when Corey Raymond was hired, he told me, Jabari Antoine told me that he was the icing on the cake. And so it was kind of a matter of if he would go through with what we had kind of heard behind the scenes, which was that there was a chance he would commit on his visit to LSU this past weekend. He visited Texas right before that. And, so they had certainly pushed for him to get on board with them. But LSU had a lot of momentum behind the scenes and was able to button it up this weekend and get a massive commitment from Jabari Antoine.
It was the Cajun Bash over the weekend. I know y'all been all over it over there on the Bengal Tiger. And Keelan Moses is a name that comes up a lot. He's very present on social media. Job well done this weekend. He's kind of taken it upon himself to be kind of a leader in recruiting this class, and it's a loaded class in the state of Louisiana. Do you see that in-state group kind of starting to come together and work together on the recruiting trail?
Yeah, absolutely. And Jabari even quote tweeted something from Terry Bussey a couple weeks ago, or maybe just a week ago, where Terry Bussey, the 5-star prospect from East Texas, who's committed to Texas A&M in the class of 2024, he tweeted out a picture of him from one of his LSU visits, and Jabari quote tweeted it and said, "What's the move?" And some of the other guys have been active recruiting, Terry for that class of 2024. So it is a 2025 class that has star power. They're the number one class in the country. Bryce Underwood, the number 1 overall prospect. Jacorian Moore, the number 4 overall prospect. Arlen Berry, the top 10 prospect for on 3. It is just a loaded group to start off 2025. And the good thing is you've got a mix of some national names, the 2 highest rated guys in Bryce Underwood and Jacorian Moore, both from out of state. But then you have a really strong start in Louisiana with this group. And they're all really tight from what I understand. And you could see them jumping in to help each other and help recruit and get the word out. And I think it'll pay off. I think this class has a chance to really clean up in Louisiana and make some noise, or make even more noise, I should say.
You mentioned Bussey and the fact that he's committed to A&M but has not signed yet, and he's going to have a busy week here prior to signing on the dotting line. What can you tell us time frame wise and who he's considering and where that stands as of today?
Yeah, it seems like Terry Bussey is down to LSU, Georgia, and Texas A&M. And Dante Williams, the new Georgia defensive backs coach, is a really solid recruiter. And Travaris Robinson, who is at Alabama, is now at Georgia, and he was recruiting him heavily for the Tide. So maybe Georgia has a little bit more of a chance than probably most people are thinking. But for the most part, we like to think it's an LSU A&M battle here, and LSU will get an unofficial visit this week when he will come to campus on Wednesday. Brian Kelly's expected to go in home pretty soon here, and then Texas A&M does get him on campus this weekend for the final official visit, and they get a fresh official visit with the coaching change in College Station. So they'll get one more chance to impress him, and this is a tough one to read in a way because there's some buzz around what LSU has done, and there's a lot of good reason for that. But this is also a guy that has stayed committed to Texas A&M. He hasn't backed off of that pledge like other guys did in that class, and whether they jump back in or not for Mike Elko, but he's one that has stayed committed even though he didn't sign during the early signing period. So LSU's got a shot here. They got to keep working it. They've been trying to, stay in position to potentially take advantage of the coaching change in College Station. And Terry's going to give them one more look on Wednesday. And I think by the weekend, we would probably have a better idea of where things stand once he visits College Station and the dust kind of settles from that. Just an opportunity for him to get around that staff again.
We're talking about the class of 2024 here, and I know that you all unrolled a different ranking system, the final ranking system for the 2024 class, and there were some big movers from LSU in that one. What can you tell us about the way that your industry is evaluating some of LSU's signees?
Yeah, somebody asked me about this on the Bengal Tiger. What did I think about the final update? And quite honestly, it fell in line with kind of how I felt with a lot of these guys. We saw Trades Green get his 5th star in the final rankings, and he's in the top 32. And then Dominic McKinley moved back up into that 5-star range at number 24. And Weston Davis, who was a 5-star for on 3 very early on, finished as a 5-star right ahead of McKinley. And so those all made sense to me. They've all got traits. They've all got production, and a lot to like about them. So LSU finishes with 3 5-stars for on 3, which has LSU as the number 3 class in America right now. And then Gabriel Relaford continued to move up a little bit, closing out as the number 50 overall prospect. On 3's higher on him than any other recruiting service. And then the big mover I would highlight is Kylan Billiot, who had an awesome All-American Bowl in San Antonio and really showed that despite him being a tough eval, being relatively new to the sport, still developing from that basketball background, to kind of not having maybe the quarterback play you'd want out there at Terrebonne, as well as even some crazy weather games that he just kind of was unable to stack up some stats. He went into San Antonio and just put on a really solid performance. And so he landed just outside the top 100, and he finished as a top 20 wide receiver. And for the most part, there wasn't too many surprises. And there's guys you could probably say, okay, I would have maybe had him a little bit higher. Like I probably would have had McKinley above Weston Davis just because I think he's dominated just a little bit more. But I mean, that's just kind of a difference of opinion, but you're still talking about 2 5-stars. So you're splitting hairs there. So it was a pretty good update for LSU and secures yet another top 5 class for Brian Kelly.
Billy, I know it's going to be a busy week and a half here. We'll be locked into the Bengal Tiger. We appreciate some time.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
He is Billy Embody over there at On 3 with the Bengal Tiger. He and Shay will be burning up the phone lines for the next week and a half, trying to figure out where things stand with Terry Bussey and the rest of the crew. But as you mentioned right there, a really good update for LSU from the On 3 side of things with some of their prospects and how they finish up. Top 5 class for Brian Kelly and company, and this is not a monster year in the state like it is coming up next year, and LSU's already got 6 of the top 8 players in the state committed in that class. So a lot of really, really good news on the recruiting trail, and that's the way Brian Kelly's trying to get this thing done. You're going to use the transfer portal. It's there, but he wants to build the foundation of this team and the backbone of this program through the high school recruiting ranks, and it starts with the state of Louisiana. So we appreciate Billy for checking in with us. It seems like a lot of good things going on with LSU football right about now. And I was thinking about this as he was talking. Some of the real threats in recruiting the state of Louisiana. Corey Raymond in Gainesville is a threat there. Bo Davis in Austin is a threat there. They're wearing purple and gold now. There's fewer to fight off, it seems like, in terms of guys who really have a track record of recruiting in the state of Louisiana. And now LSU's got a staff full of guys that have done this for a long, long time. So appreciate Billy for coming on, giving us a little bit of time. We got one segment to go left in hour number 1. We'll kick off hour number 2 with a little bit of baseball. Come back with us.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions. It's all right there in the name. Audio, whether it's surround sound in your home, want to get your automated voice-triggered system that you can just say, hey, I want to play some music and fire it up. You can do that at Audio Video Security Solutions. Video. You can do everything as simple from hanging your television, mounting your television, to creating that surround sound home viewing experience that you would love to have. And security, obviously nothing is more important than the security of you and your family. They install security solutions as well. AVSSLA.com is the website. AVSSLA.com, Audio Video Security Solutions. Give my guy Mitchell Fisher a call, number 225-267-8508. That's 225-267-8508. That is his phone number. You get the owner of the company's phone number when you make that phone call to Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out, avssla.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local.
To a Tuesday edition of Off the Bench. T-Bob and Jake continue their coverage. It's day 2 of the Senior Bowl. They are live from Mobile, Alabama. We'll also be joined by Nick Underhill of New Orleans Football to talk some Saints. Tune in, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
.104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and MMR bring you live coverage of the 2024 Reese's Senior Bowl. Our team of T-Bob Hebert and Jacob Hester host Off the Bench live from Mobile, starting today and then through Thursday this week, February 1st. And our coverage is brought to you locally by MMR. Listen on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and watch on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I think the boys had Michael Penix on this morning. I think I saw that picture. Does that
Yeah,
sound
I
right
think so.
to you? Excellent work over there. And I know they had Latu as well, who has been targeted by the Saints in some mock drafts moving forward. Heck of a pass rusher from UCLA. So really good content from the guys over there at Mobile. Rivers over there as well. So lock them in every morning from 7 to 10. They're doing some great work at the Reese's Senior Bowl. We got great relationships over there, and the guys make that trip every single year. Going to start off hour number 2 talking about Gage Jump, LSU left-hander, and some of the things he had to say at Media Day on Friday, and then some of the the reports from seeing him pitch us in the fall and then again on Friday. But I do want to finish out the hour with a little bit of SEC basketball talk. I mentioned on Friday just an unattractive slate of games in the Southeastern Conference, quite frankly, on Saturday. Tennessee got by Vanderbilt by 13. They played with their food a little bit. Vanderbilt was winning at halftime of that game, but Tennessee put the pedal down, and Dalton Knecht continues just ridiculous run. He had 32 points in the game against Vanderbilt. He's going to be a lottery pick when this thing comes up this summer for drafting. You look back at his last few games, he had 32 at Vanderbilt, 25 against Alabama, 39 against Florida, 36 at Georgia, and 28 at Mississippi State. Those are in consecutive games. That's a 5-game run, 28, 36, 39, 25, 32. Dalton Knecht is a stud. He's been fantastic for Tennessee, and they beat Vanderbilt, who's awful, in Nashville. Vanderbilt now 5-14 and 0-6 in SEC play. A good one in Bud Walton. Game day was there. We rattled off all the terrible Arkansas stats last week, and Kentucky was coming in, and the Hogs held their own. Now, Kentucky couldn't throw it in the ocean in the first half. It was a brutal first half of shooting by the Wildcats. They only scored 24 points in the first half, but the Cats got rolling a little bit in the second half. Reeve ended up with 24 points, and they were able to hold off Arkansas and win it 63-57, a 6-point win by Kentucky. They moved to 5-2 in league play, and Arkansas is 1-6. Speaking of disappointing teams, not quite as disappointing as Arkansas, but pretty close. A&M loses a home game to Ole Miss. 71-68 the final, and A&M is 3-4 in league play. They're 12-8 overall. I don't think A&M is going to make the NCAA tournament, and that shouldn't come as some like shocking revelation this deep into the season. It would have shocked me to tell me that in November. If you would have told me in November that Arkansas and Texas A&M were not going to be NCAA tournament teams, I would have pushed back on that pretty hard. A&M returns Wade Taylor. They return Henry Coleman. They return Boots Radford. And they just can't get anything going. And Ole Miss goes in there and beats them 71-68. It's just not going well in College Station. Florida in double overtime beats Georgia 102-98. That's another matchup of those teams that's the middle of the league. That's the group that I hope LSU is in, but those two teams are very much just middle of the road SEC teams, and they're both 4-3 in league play and kind of looked very similar going to double overtime in Gainesville. But Mike White's team cannot win in his return to Gainesville. Missouri falls to 0-7 in league play. They lost to South Carolina 72-64. Just not something I expected to see from Missouri either, after having such a strong year in year one under Coach Gates to show up and go start 0-7 in league play. Didn't figure they'd go on the road and beat South Carolina, but they sure didn't. They need to win. They've got a chance to win in the next two games. They play Arkansas at home. It's a game they should win. They're at Vanderbilt. They can win that one. Somebody's getting off the schneid coming up on Saturday. Either Vanderbilt or Missouri has to win because they play each other. They haven't won a game in the league play to this point, but somebody's going to win coming up in that game on Saturday. And the last one, a surprising result to me. Mississippi State beats Auburn 64-58 in Starkville. That is wins over Tennessee and Auburn in Starkville for Mississippi State, who's 3-4 in league play. And two of those wins are against the best two teams in the league. Go figure. But Chris Jans' team was able to play defense and control the tempo of the game, and they held Auburn to 58 points. That's an identity. Chris Jans, in 2 years at Mississippi State, has instilled an identity. They're going to play slow. They're going to play defense. They're going to be big and physical. And when you come to Starkville, you'll play by their rules. And they did that to Tennessee, and they did it again to Auburn. So I'm not worried about Auburn. I'm not worried about Tennessee. Just part of an 18-game schedule. But that's impressive by Mississippi State to get those two wins. And they win that one by 6 points, 64-58. That game was 21-21 at halftime. That's a rock fight, to put it mildly. So that's your look at the Southeastern Conference scoreboard from Saturday. Not any huge takeaways other than the fact that A&M really can't be losing home games to Ole Miss and LSU if they want to be in the NCAA tournament. Outside of that, pretty pedestrian day in the Southeastern Conference. That'll crank up with some more basketball tomorrow. The Egg Bowl on the hardwood is tomorrow, and then South Carolina visits in Knoxville, so we'll talk a little bit about those coming up on tomorrow's show. If you missed any of our show in the first hour today on this Monday, we're presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Our guy Trey Beal is the best. Love chatting with Trey. Printer needs, copier needs, Gulf Coast Office Products got to be your one-stop shop. They are big enough to handle any need that you have from a printer or copier perspective, yet they're small enough to where you're going to still have that relationship with your rep. It's going to be the president, Trey Beal. They offer same-day service on printers and copiers that are malfunctioning. We all know that can be a huge hassle in the workplace. They can have somebody right there to make sure that your operation's running smoothly. Just contact them, Gulf Coast Office Products. You can find them at gcopnet.com, gcopnet.com. All right, we'll wrap things up here for hour number one. If you missed any of it, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find The Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. Had a great recruiting segment there with Billy Embody. You can find that coming up at Hunt on LSU on YouTube. We're going to pause for Sports Center. Step aside when we come back for the second hour. We'll open things up with my thoughts on what may be the best pitcher on LSU's roster, and you've probably never seen him pitch. It's Gage Jump. We'll do that next on The Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink, or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Chiefs coach Andy Reid today denied providing inaccurate information about receiver Kadarius Toney, said nothing was made up. Toney's working through some things and will be back out there. Yesterday, Toney went on an expletive-laden social media rant, appeared to accuse the team of lying about his health. He was held out of the AFC title game with what the team said were hip and personal reasons. Doc Rivers set to make his Bucs coaching debut tonight in Denver against the defending champion Nuggets. Rivers taking over for the fired Adrian Griffin. With his vast coaching experience and NBA championship, Doc should resonate with his new team, believes ESPN NBA analyst Tim Legler.
He walks in there and he's got a ring on his finger. And I think as a coach, that's going to carry a lot of weight with a veteran team. He's going to be able to say certain things to them probably and have them receive it differently than maybe some things Adrian Griffin could have said. So I'm looking at what the Bucs do defensively, transition defense, half-court pick and roll adjustments, those kinds of things, because that's what the Bucs need to clean up the most.
Our Tim Legler, Cavaliers power forward Evan Mobley returns from left knee surgery tonight versus the Clippers. He last played on December 6th.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Tuesday, I'll tell you which quarterbacks have raised their stock the most in the playoffs. It's unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Got 1 hour to go, chatting about the Saints offensive coordinator search as it continues. Going up here in the next segment. But starting here with a little bit of LSU baseball, was able to get out there 2 times this weekend. I went on Saturday. I was solo dad duty with the Myers man on Saturday. So he woke up from his nap, and I thought, man, time to get out there. So we went out to the box, and he'd never been, so we'll see how it goes. He turned 2 last month, so he's not exactly locked in on baseball or anything in the world. So we got there, and for about 5 minutes, he was holding a baseball on the concourse and just kind of checking it out and was kind of enthralled. I was like, oh my gosh, I might actually get to watch some of this. That lasted about 5 minutes. And then he wanted to walk the concourse and throw the baseball and splash in all the puddles. And then I realized that we were losing him, and we went down to the slides down the right field line, and he did that for 40 minutes or so. And so if you want to know a lot of the information about what happened on the baseball field on Saturday, I cannot help you very much with that. I just didn't get to watch very much. Yesterday, I went solo and was able to take in the entirety of the scrimmage and very much enjoyed it. And we'll talk a little bit more about what I've seen from a baseball perspective. But I wanted to talk about a specific player today because the reports I was getting from the fall and back in December when I had a conversation with someone inside the program about Gage Jump were glowing. And then Tommy White said on Friday that he might be the best pitcher on the staff. And that's kind of what it sounds like, is that he might be the dude. Now, Thatcher Hurd's fantastic. Luke Holman could be a first-round pick as well. LSU's got a lot of top-end talent in the pitching staff, but Jump is absolutely a guy to watch. I think most of you know what Thatcher Hurd is. I think a lot of you saw Luke Holman last year. We really haven't seen Gage Jump because he hasn't pitched since 2022, and he would have been way off your radar at that point. We're talking about a guy that 2 years ago, which was Jay's first year at LSU, was a freshman at UCLA, incidentally, with Thatcher Hurd. And he only made 7 appearances for the Bruins as a freshman before the elbow went. But he faced a Stanford team that was an Omaha team. And he threw 5 innings in that game, allowed 2 earned runs, struck out 7 with just 1 walk. He got 2 saves against Oregon. as a freshman. They were an NCAA tournament team that year. Those 2 saves totaled 3 innings of shutout baseball with 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. He's left-handed. He was the number 1 left-handed high schooler in California a couple of years ago. And you're talking about a 6-foot, 210-pound, 94-mile-an-hour fastball, 3 off-speed pitches. It's some really, really good stuff. And I think maybe ace-level stuff here at LSU. Jump met with the media back on Friday, and the first thing he updated LSU fans on was his health coming off Tommy John surgery now almost 2 years ago.
My arm, after Tommy John, I'm feeling really good. I think it's been 17, 18 months, and usually 18 to 21 is kind of when you're full go. There's no issues, so I'm feeling really good.
He said that and then went out in the scrimmage on Friday and struck out the side. He's got really, really good stuff, and he knows how to pitch. Jump then talked about his style on the mound.
I'm a 4-pitch guy, fastball, curveball, slider, changeup. I'd like to say I'm very aggressive, and with Coach Yeski, the idea of suffocating the zone and playing to our strengths is basically putting pressure on the hitter. I'm just really happy to be pitching with the talent that we have on this team, and I'm really excited for the season.
This guy's going to be in the rotation to start the season, and I don't really know or care where he slots into the starting rotation. I don't have enough of a track record on Jay Johnson to know who will start the first Friday game here in 2 weeks. I don't know. If it were Paul Mainieri, I think Thatcher Hurd would get the ball, because Paul Mainieri oftentimes gave the veteran the baseball on opening day. He did that for Lewis Coleman. He did that with Ben Alsop one year. He did that with Jared Poche when Alex Lang was on the staff. It's just one of those things that he did, and that's fine with me. It's fine if you want to line things up because you play different opponents on weekends and you find a matchup you like, that one team's super left-handed and you want to make sure that Jump faces them. So he either pitches on Friday or pitches on Sunday. Like, I'm not one of those guys that says you've got to slot him in 1, 2, 3 this way. I care when you get to the regional. I care when you get to the Super. I care when you get to Omaha. That sequencing matters to me. The first weekend, I don't really care. And honestly, I'm not that, dialed into how you stack them up in SEC play. If you've got Paul Skeens, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and throw him out in game 1. You got Aaron Nola, I'm going to go out there and throw him out there in game 1. But they all count the same. And I don't know that there's that big a difference between Hurd, Jump, and Holman where it matters all that much. Those 3 guys, they're going to pitch 3 games on the weekend. They all count the same. Whatever order, that's up to what Jay Johnson feels like. But I think Gage Jump is very much going to factor into this thing. And he's going to be, I think, a force for LSU based on the returns that I've gotten out of the program since he showed up in the fall. Now, he gave a great quote here on his decision to transfer to LSU, and there are a couple of levels that I want to talk about regarding this clip. So we'll go ahead and play it. This is Gage Jump on why he decided to leave UCLA and come to LSU.
I just wanted to be in the SEC. The Pac, I didn't really like the way it was going. And I don't have a long track record in college. I think I only have 16, 17 innings. And Coach Johnson, I've known him since high school. He's known my brother, so we kind of had that relationship already. And LSU, it's the best place in the world to play baseball. So I was super pumped to be able to be here. I'm grateful for that.
So a couple things. That's the reality of college baseball. If you've got a talented player, they're going to likely have eyes toward the SEC. It's where the NIL money is. It's where the best competition is. It's where the best facilities are. It's where the championships are won. There is no conference that can even sniff the SEC in baseball. We see it in Nebraska every single June. Vanderbilt's playing Arkansas for a College World Series championship. Vanderbilt's playing Mississippi State for a championship. LSU's playing Florida for a national championship. These are all SEC matchups. We know that Ole Miss is up there winning. That's just the reality of it. So you got guys leaving powerhouse baseball programs, well-respected baseball programs, to come to the SEC. Thatcher Hurd leaves UCLA to come to LSU. Gage Jump leaves UCLA to come to LSU. Jacob Berry leaves Arizona to come to LSU. Stanford's best player two-way player, star, on a team that's been a top 8 national seed in Omaha the last 3 years, leaves to go to Texas A&M. Now, I know the Pac-12 is going away, but the Pac-12, those West Coast schools that were stalwarts in the sport, Cal State Fullerton, UC Irvine, Long Beach State, UCLA, Oregon State, all these, Stanford, these programs are basically feeder schools to the SEC. And that bums me out a little bit. I'll be honest. It's great for LSU. It's going to create more national championships for LSU. And ultimately, that's the goal. And that's what makes me happy. And hopefully we see another one this year. But I can still pull myself away from that for a second and go, man, having the West Coast as a power in college baseball is healthy for the sport. I don't want to get to Omaha every year and look across the hotel and see Tennessee, Florida, LSU, Mississippi State, A&M, and then you sprinkle, well, Texas at this point. I mean, like, is anybody that's not in the SEC even going to make it to Omaha? The Big Ten doesn't show up. I think you're going to hurt those programs out west playing in the Big Ten. They got to go play Michigan State and Penn State in baseball. It just becomes the SEC Invitational. I don't fault Gage Jump for it. It's a smart thing to do for him. He had a buddy, Thatcher Hurd, in his recruiting class that saw the fruits of it a year earlier. And I've talked to Jay Johnson about this because he spent his whole life on the West Coast. And he told me like it's never going to be what it was. And that's great for LSU, and it's going to mean more winning for LSU. I still think it's a bit of a negative for the sport. So I promise you, I'm not going to sit here and complain that LSU, 2 of their top 3, and maybe their 2 best pitchers are Californians who started their career at UCLA. John Savage is a hell of a coach, a national championship coach. But he probably wouldn't have won that championship now because Trevor Bauer and Garrett Cole would be pitching for Florida and Texas. Gage Jump's going to be really good, though. I I felt the need to say that. He was right. He didn't like the way the Pac-12 was going. It dissolved. He got to the promised land, which is the Southeastern Conference. More baseball over the next couple of weeks. I'll get you ready for LSU. Musso and I will do our big season preview. We'll put that up on YouTube and probably on his Musso at the Box page as well. Musso's going to have a video element to Musso at the Box this year, so that'll be really cool for him. We're getting close. It was cool to be out at the Box this weekend, and very much looking forward to opening day here in just over 2 weeks' time. Saints looking to grab an offensive coordinator. They're still in the works there. I'll give you my thoughts on the folks that they've interviewed and where folks have gone that have spurned the Saints, seemingly. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Conveniently located in Industrial Plex off Sigan and Airline. Custom colors, body, and paint.
Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. 5 brands on one lot. Shop BayouAutomotive.com.
Live at lunch with Ott and Annie weekdays at 11 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hennigrove joined me and Jimmy Ott for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City. Andy Isco joins us from Las Vegas, and we do first class, second class, no class, Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Tuesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. GCOPnet.com for all your printing and copier needs. Shout out to our guy, Trey Beal. Saints fired Pete Carmichael on January the 16th. It seems like it was 2 months ago. It was not 2 months ago. It was actually just 2 weeks ago that the Saints made that decision. And to this point, they have not replaced the former offensive coordinator. And they've conducted some interviews. Some reported names have been out there. Some names that they have interviewed have gone elsewhere. Zach Robinson, the latest to do so. He was hired by Atlanta. That was kind of the feeling once Raheem Morris got that job and left the Rams as a defensive coordinator to become the head coach of the Falcons, that he would take Zach Robinson with him to become the offensive coordinator. That, in fact, did happen over the weekend. So that's one name off the board, and Zach Robinson, that comes from that McVay tree. And so there are some names still floating out there that have reportedly interviewed but have not been hired yet. Gerard Johnson is one of them. I remember Gerard Johnson from his days playing at Texas A&M, and he bounced around the NFL and the CFL, and he's been an offensive coach in the NFL since 2017. He was doing a diversity coaching fellowship with San Francisco in 2017. Same thing with the Colts in 2019. Then he became quality control coach with Indianapolis, assistant quarterbacks coach in Minnesota in 2022, and last year was the quarterbacks coach in Houston, where C.J. Stroud obviously had a fantastic first season. So he's kind of ascending up the ranks as a 35-year-old young coach. That's a guy that, I think did a good job this past year. Do Derek Carr and C.J. Stroud possess a lot of the same qualities? Not really. But I think Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr, in terms of point in their career, skill set, production over the course of the last decade, are fairly similar. And, Johnson saw some of that back in 2022, even though the Vikings offense was okay. They won a lot of close games that year, but they weren't exactly an offensive juggernaut. But I would be okay with that. Your issue with Gerard Johnson, he's never called plays. And that's a little scary. Now, everyone's got to have their break at some point, but is that who Dennis Allen wants to hitch his wagon to for what could be his final try as being an NFL head coach? I mean, you got to think about this hire from Dennis Allen's perspective. I'm sure he doesn't think about this way outwardly, but I certainly can. If he gets this wrong and they stink next year and the Saints go 7-10, Dennis Allen is fired and he's never going to be a head coach again. Everything has to go well for the Saints next year, or Dennis Allen's time as an NFL head coach will be over. So that's something you've got to consider when you're hiring an offensive coordinator that's never called plays before. We talked about Clint Kubiak back on Friday. He's got ties to that Shanahan tree, and his team is, he's been in Denver as well. He was the Vikings offensive coordinator, was let go as part of an entire staff that was fired there. Again, that's a Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins comp. Similar styles, similar quarterbacks, similar system. Is that a name that you want to make happen? Brian Griese's team is still playing in the Super Bowl, and he's only been a coach in the NFL for 2 years. Is that a guy you want to go after? And I think, in my opinion, it's going to come from that list of Gerard Johnson, Brian Griese, and Clint Kubiak. I think those are the three guys. I do not think the Saints are going to hire Ronald Curry. I think if the Saints were going to hire Ronald Curry, he would have already been hired. We were joking there at the beginning like it's only been 2 weeks, but I think 2 weeks and the amount of interviews that they've been able to run through and the guys they've interviewed twice and the fact that Curry has been in New Orleans as long as he has means they know him. Dennis Allen knows who Ronald Curry is. Mickey Loomis knows who Ronald Curry is. Derek Carr knows who Ronald Curry is, obviously. I think if this was the guy, he'd have already been hired. So that swings me back to the other three. And I don't have strong feelings. They're all very, very different. Gerard Johnson played the position in the NFL, has never been a coordinator or called plays, but he's young, and he grew up in this era of spreading the field and throwing the football. Clint Kubiak grew up in the game. He's been an offensive coordinator. He's been on the Shanahan tree. However, he did get let go as an offensive coordinator. And then Brian Griese is, to me, like still on Monday Night Football. But he's been coaching for 2 years, but has not been in this position in his life. But he's a smart guy. He's been around football his entire life. And he's in an organization right now that's in the Super Bowl again. So there are pros and cons to this whole thing. And that's kind of where I always land on these coaching hires. No matter what team we're covering and talking about, you very rarely know. Like when LSU women's basketball hired Kim Mulkey, you knew. That's the exception, not the rule. The rule is, generally speaking, you're going to hire somebody that's on an upward trajectory. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You never really know. But the fact of the matter is the Saints have got to hit on this. Because, like I said, if they don't, it's going to trigger an organizational reset. And maybe you, the listener, want that. That's something you want. So you're hoping they screw it up so you can clean house and get some new blood in here. I'd push back on that a little bit. I would suggest maybe it'd be a good thing if the Saints did hit on this offensive coordinator and put a better offensive product out there. I couldn't help but watch the first half of Ravens and Chiefs and think, man, these two guys are balling at quarterback. Lamar went south in the second half. These two guys are balling at quarterback, and I just don't see the Saints looking like that anytime soon with Carr calling snaps. But we'll see. Maybe they're waiting on Brian Griese to finish his run here into the Super Bowl for 2 weeks. Maybe we hear something within the next 25 minutes. But I believe that the name of the Saints' next offensive coordinator is going to be Gerard Johnson, it's going to be Clint Kubiak, or it's going to be Brian Griese. I think those are the three. You can pull the trigger on one of the first two now. Maybe you got to wait for Griese a little bit if he'd rather finish the season before that announcement is made. Dennis Allen, got a little pressure. Got to make it happen. And we'll see if anything develops. We'll certainly let you know. Gulf Coast Office Products brings you our Monday shows, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. Appreciate our guy Trey Beal for being a part of our Monday shows. Hope your work week is off to a good start when we come back. Got about 30 minutes to go here on Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Protect yourself from power outages. It's easy as just contacting my friends at Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have run Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years, and they still run it with that small family feel. The fact of the matter is that they're very high-tech and they're growing. Expanded to another location in Gonzales early 2024, and that phone line is up and moving. Give them a call, 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389. Friends of Boudreaux's Electric, they give you a 7 to 10-year warranty on every generator they sell you. 7 to 10 years warranty with Boudreaux's Electric. They're a certified Generac dealer. They're a premier Generac dealer. It means they're in the top 3% nationwide. You don't have to sit in a house with no power when a hurricane rolls through or an ice storm like last week comes through. Boudreaux's Electric can put that to bed for you. If you give them a call at 225-300-9389, that is Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties, so retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call Matt Moscona, inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. Austin Thomas, returning to LSU football. What does it mean for Brian Kelly's program? And Super Bowl 58 will be set. We'll preview it. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
As the gladiators of the gridiron battle it out for football's biggest prize, you'll be battling it out for one of radio's biggest prizes. It's the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge Big Game Contest, where you could win $50,000 in cash if your name is drawn from the pot and you've correctly guessed the final score of the big game. Get your score guesses in now at 1045ESPN.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I would really like to win $50,000, but it feels like I'm probably ineligible for that prize.
I think so, even though you have no advantage over everyone else.
Yeah, but
it probably wouldn't look good if somebody that worked here won the
probably not.
$50K.
It's like when in The Office when Jim put the Employee of the Week and when he paid himself, and then they made him pull out, and then Pam won. Okay, yeah, I would like the $50K. That's a bummer that I'm not eligible for such riches. LSU bringing Austin Thomas back to the football program. If you heard Matt's tease for after further review, this has been reported by Football Scoop, and he's been all over the place. Been at LSU a couple times, Tennessee, Southern Cal, Baylor, and then most recently at Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. And I don't know Austin well. I've certainly crossed paths with him in the football facility when I'm doing my pregame interviews during the season. Always been an incredibly nice guy. And when they brought him in initially back in the Les Miles era, I was like, what does this position even do? Like, isn't the recruiting coordinator and the head coach, aren't they the ones that are supposed to put the roster together? Like, what do you need a general manager for? I don't feel that way now. Because the landscape has changed, and there is no greater challenge or demand on a collegiate football coach than roster management. It is the biggest issue, period. Because you've got to recruit high school players and develop them. You've got to go into the transfer portal and supplement your roster. You got to protect against guys leaving for the transfer portal, and then when they do inevitably leave for the transfer portal, you've got to make sure that you can backfill and replace those guys. Like, it's a never-ending revolving door of humanity, and it's very hard to keep track of. And I think having a full-time staff member whose job is to do just that is huge. Austin Thomas has got a phenomenal reputation in the sport for being just that. He has wonderful relationships with young people. I remember him being a key factor in LSU landing Jacoby Stevens. They're both Tennessee guys, and he was part of the recruiting pitch to get Jacoby Stevens, a 5-star recruit in the defensive backfield, down to Baton Rouge. And that's not going to be his main job. His main job is making sure that the roster stays stocked. And it's almost a full-time job to monitor the transfer portal. You know how many guys go in the transfer portal, the rate at which players just dive in? And you've got to have somebody there who can sift through it all and find the guys that, one, that would help your team, and two, that you got to land them. It's far closer now to the NFL model where, yes, you do have the draft with high school recruiting, but you've also got free agency, which is the transfer portal. And you've got, in the NFL, you've got a general manager who's a liaison between coach and ownership to make those types of decisions and help keep things on the tracks. So I don't necessarily think that I'm going to go ahead and call Austin Thomas coming on to coach it or to be the general manager at LSU like some sort of program-changing shift or this monumental moment. What I will say is, like, This is an important job. He's good at it. Good hire. We'll take it. I'm not here to say that everything that's been built in Oxford through the transfer portal is about to fall apart because Austin Thomas is leaving for LSU. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I think he deserves some credit for putting together what they did in Oxford, from handling the collective to working the transfer portal and making Ole Miss the best it can be. It's difficult to land a top 5 high school signing class at Ole Miss. But you can go get a bunch of transfers, and they sure have, and Austin Thomas was right in the middle of that. So Brian Kelly, throughout his career, has done a wonderful job of hiring staffs. His coordinators have gone on to take head jobs wherever he's been, including here in Baton Rouge. And this staff looks that part. It looks like a staff that's got Louisiana ties, a lot of really quality resumes, defined roles, and it looks really, really healthy. The signing classes, the recruiting classes look good. Going to have to shore up the defense one way or another. But this is just another, I think, positive thing for the LSU football program to have Austin Thomas come in. If it hurts Ole Miss too, that's great. But I think it's a very, very much a positive for LSU to have Austin Thomas back with the football team. Football Scoop had that news coming up over the weekend. D1 Baseball came out with their All-American list for college baseball. LSU lands a couple of players on the All-American list, one on the first team, one on the third team. I'll let you, the listener, give that a second of thought, see if you can guess. I think all of you would immediately suggest Tommy White would be on the list. He is a first-teamer at third base. But the second name might surprise you a little bit, and it's Luke Holman, big right-handed pitcher who spent his time last year at Alabama. And I just told you in the first segment of this hour that I thought that Gage Jump might be the best pitcher on LSU's roster, and I was told back in early January that Jump might be the best pitcher on the roster. Well, Thatcher Hurd gave you 6 great innings in the national final and 5 great innings in the marble game of the regional after a rain delay knocked Ty Floyd out of the game. He's really accomplished and could be a first-round pick. I just told you Gage Jump might be the best pitcher on the team, and Luke Holman, by D1 Baseball, is a third-team preseason All-American. Pretty good place to start your roster with those 3 guys, I'd say. Excited about that. I don't know if I necessarily have Holman pegged that high, but with some improvement, if he's a little bit better than he was last year, he is that guy. If you look at the All-American team, especially the first team, I was talking back in that first segment about how the Southeastern Conference is just dominating the sport of baseball. Well, you look at this, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10. Yeah, there's no pitcher there. So 10 names on the first team offensively. Cole Messina, South Carolina. Tommy White, LSU. Jace Lavalette, A&M. Ethan Petrie, South Carolina. Charlie Condon, Georgia. Jack Caglione, Florida. That's 6 of the top 10 SEC players. Now, Travis Bazzano, we saw in the regional here last year from Oregon State. He's sensational. Nick Kurtz, we saw in Omaha with Wake Forest. He's their first baseman. He's fantastic at 24 homers last year. J.J. Weatherholt is the shortstop at West Virginia. He might be the first pick in the draft. He's fantastic, and he's on this list. And then Cam Canarella from Clemson on the list as well. I think he almost went into the transfer portal, decided to stay at Clemson. But the rest of the guys are from the SEC. Some other names you'll recognize on this list. Brody Brecht from Iowa, the big flamethrower that LSU saw over in Round Rock last year. He's on this list on the first team. Josh Hartle started the game for Wake Forest that LSU lost in Omaha against the Deacs. Hagen Smith at Arkansas, brutal left-hander that LSU saw last year in a game that LSU lost. Jack Caglione makes this list as well. So those guys you would remember on the first team. On the second team, Billy Amick from Tennessee is there. Braden Montgomery, who I was talking about earlier, he was a two-way star at Stanford. He's now going to play in the outfield and pitch for Texas A&M. He's on the second team here. Drew Beam from Tennessee. Chase Burns from Wake Forest, who transferred from Tennessee. Michael Massey, Wake Forest stud in the bullpen is on that list. Brandon Neely, who LSU lit up a little bit in the national championship game, the reliever from Florida, is on this list as well. So LSU not as heavily represented as they were last year on some of these lists, but you do have Tommy White on the first team, and you do have Luke Holman there on the third team. Incidentally, Luke Holman's numbers last year, he was 7-4 with a 3.67 ERA. He started 15 games. In 81 innings, he struck out 87 and walked 31. His batting average against was a sparkling 182. You can have something like that and throw more strikes than he threw last year. I think LSU will really have something with Luke Holman, who D1 Baseball says is a third-team preseason All-American. Plenty more baseball over the next couple of weeks. I'll talk a little bit more baseball tomorrow as well. I saw some stuff that was noteworthy out there on the field yesterday, and we'll get to some of that coming up on tomorrow's show. We got one more break to take. We'll come back, play some Take It or Leave It, and get on down the road. It's a Monday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet is now live in Louisiana. Perfect time because the Super Bowl is right around the corner. It's the official sportsbook of ESPN. ESPN Bet's the only place you can find daily exclusives and offers with your favorite ESPN personalities and shows. You can sign up today. Just go to the ESPN Bet app, sign up. I did it yesterday. It was easy. You get $100 in bonus bets for making any sportsbook bet. So just make any bet. You get $100 in bonus bets deposited into your account. You can find all your favorite markets and bets like in-game wagering, cross-sport parlays, teasers, and all the props that you can handle. That's ESPN Bet. You can download today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBares Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. but our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
To a Tuesday edition of Off the Bench. T-Bob and Jake continue their coverage. It's day 2 of the Senior Bowl. They are live from Mobile, Alabama. We'll also be joined by Nick Underhill of New Orleans Football to talk some Saints. Tune in, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Shout out to Trey Beal. Gulf Coast Office Products bring you our Monday shows, gcopnet.com, gcopnet.com. All your printer needs, all your copier needs. When you've got issues, which we were having one earlier today with our printer, same-day service with the folks over at Gulf Coast Office Products. Give you a wonderful relationship with the sale. And they got different options for your leases, for your printers, and your copiers. Find them at gcopnet.com. They bring you our Monday shows each and every week. As you heard in the promo there, the guys down at the Senior Bowl all week long, so be sure to lock into OTB from 7 to 10. They've got big-time interviews they're doing. I heard them with Leatu Latu today from UCLA is going to be a first-round pick. Michael Penix was with them this morning as well. They're roping in some really quality guests and turning out some great content. So check them out in the morning on OTB. They'll be in Mobile through Thursday's show for the Reese's Senior Bowl. All right, one more order of business here on this Monday. That is, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. The Iowa Hawkeyes have finally hired a new offensive coordinator. It is Tim Lester. He was fired by Western Michigan in 2022 with an offense that finished 119th in total offense that year. Great hire by the Hawks. Take it or leave it.
I mean, is that real?
It's real.
That's a real thing.
It's real. Happened? Yes, he was an analyst with the Packers this past year.
He got fired by Western Michigan?
Yes, he did. He went 5-7 that year.
Okay, so this flies in the face of every comment that I've been making over the last week about how I never really react to hires that much because you always hire somebody that's on the up and come and that's done well at their last stop, and you never really know. This is a guy that got fired in the MAC.
Okay, but he was with the Packers as an analyst this year, so obviously he was a big part of why Jordan Love and the offense was so good.
Don't think he was. I think he was a very small part in that, or maybe no part at all. This is terrible. It's a bad hire. It's not going to work. But they can't get rid of Kirk Ferentz because somehow he puts a terrible team out there and wins 9 games. It's just it's a marvel. Someone needs to study the Iowa football program more closely than we're currently studying them, because what they are doing is just nearly impossible.
All right, the next one here, the Detroit Tigers signed infielder Colt Keith to a 6-year, $28.6 million deal. The caveat here is that Keith has not played an inning in the majors. This will become more commonplace in the MLB. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. I mean, they've got to sign the international guys with those big bonuses that aren't draft eligible. But like, there's no rule that says you need to ink a guy to a long-term big money contract if he hadn't played an inning for you. Like, that seems like an outlier. There's got to be more to that story than we know.
Yeah.
But hope he's great. Go Tigers.
Tyrrell Hatton is headed to LIV, the next defector from the PGA. He's the number 15 player in the world. LIV and the PGA Tour will reach an agreement in February, so next month. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I don't know when it's coming. I'll say this: one of the golf podcasts that I follow, Shotgun Start, apparently John Rahm thought that they were like really close to a deal when he took the money, and like now they're supposed to play this week. LIV is, and he doesn't have a team because nobody cares to do anything over there. It's just a money grab until we can figure something else out. And so now, like, Hatton's apparently on his team, but like there is no team. And Rahm, I don't think ever had any intention of playing. He was just going to be the guy that took the fat check and then forced the people to the negotiating table, and then they'd figure out where the people were supposed to play golf. Well, now they haven't figured out the deal, and Rahm's supposed to play in a golf tournament, kind of. I use air quotes. It's a golf tournament like I play a video game golf tournament is basically what I would put as far as the importance of LIV's actual product. But yeah, I mean, look, they're trying. These guys are trying to break golf, so they have to do something. None of these guys believe that LIV is a more quality product. They're trying to get to the more quality product by breaking the PGA Tour in half, and it's not happening at the rate I think that they were trying to make it happen. So it's going to happen eventually. The golf world can't exist where half of the top 30 is playing on a tour that nobody knows how they can watch it or find it, and half the tour is on the PGA Tour, and now you're having winners that no one's ever heard of for 3 weeks in a row. That can't continue. They've got to figure something out. I just don't know when it's going to happen.
Taylor Swift will get from Tokyo to Vegas for the Super Bowl. She has a concert in Tokyo, I believe, Saturday.
Yeah.
And then the Super Bowl, of course, would be in Vegas on Sunday at 3:30. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. She'll get there. I'll tell you this, and this is a real thing. And people have been talking about the Taylor Swift stuff and all that, and like some people are sick of it. I personally don't care. Show her as much as you want, as long as I can watch the plays. My wife knew where the Super Bowl was, and I didn't yesterday. I had no idea where the Super Bowl was. My wife knew. She's like, oh, yeah, it's in Vegas. Taylor's got to get there from Tokyo. She has a private jet. I was like, no joke. She has a private jet. She made $1 billion on tour. I think she's got some private aviation logistics working out. So, yeah, she will make it. That's pretty easy. Like, you do the show, you got the time zone difference, so it ends pretty easy, pretty early on Saturday our time. Then you get on the Big Bird, you get horizontal, go to bed, wake up, you're somewhere out, in the Atlantic, and you make it in. I think she won't have any problem with that at all.
Luka Doncic became the 5th player to go for 60 this year.
Yep.
The NBA needs to step it up on defense. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Step it up on D. Stop these guys from scoring 60 points. They're good. They're really, really good. And, yeah, I don't know the defensive intensity is quite what you would like in January as opposed to June, but these dudes are really tough to stop. They're big and they're skilled. They can shoot. They can drive. And you can't really guard them like you used to be able to. So there's just not that much you can do. There are some guys in the NBA who are still playing some defense, but it's an offensive sport. It's that way by design. And I will give Bill Simmons some credit. When Embiid went for 1 billion points the other day, he was like, I wonder who's the next guy to do this. I mean, I feel like the strong favorite is Luka, and it took him like 5 days to do it. So shout out Bill Simmons. Nailed that one.
All right, last one here. You would take Patrick Mahomes over Tom Brady in a must-win game. Take it or leave it.
Whew. I wouldn't have a big problem with either one of them being my quarterback in a must-win game.
No.
I'll leave it for right now. I'm not ready to go there. Greenberg was on today talking about Mahomes being the best quarterback he's ever seen. He said he's not the greatest of all time. He hasn't done it long enough, and there are all those caveats into why Brady is who he is. But as far as just the quality of the position play, Mahomes is the best he's ever seen. He's very, very good, and this amount of wins is not to be sneered at. I mean, like Dave Portnoy from Barstool, big Patriots guy, said, like, I feel like I'm watching the Patriots. If you want to compare these Chiefs to the Patriots in that run, you can do that. Now, they haven't won as much quite yet, but I would still take Brady. That's the guy that I would hitch my wagon to. He seemed to do pretty well in the large games. Taking into account if unless Eli Manning was on the other side, then you'd probably have to go with Mahomes. But yeah, that would work for me. Who are you taking in that, Mahomes or Brady?
I'll take Mahomes just because, like, when we saw how, I think because he's more mobile than Tom Brady, and the only times we've seen Tom Brady ever struggle, even in Super Bowls, was whenever he got pressured.
Yeah.
And teams couldn't usually get pressure, so it didn't matter. But I would take Mahomes just because he's a little bit more mobile, and I think he's as good of a quarterback as Tom Brady is.
Who would you take in a big game, Patrick Mahomes or Derek Carr?
Wow, that's a tough one. I have to think about that one for a few minutes. But yeah, I'll take Patrick Mahomes.
There's no need for me to do that. I apologize, Saints fans. Didn't mean to irk you on this Monday. We're trying to get the work week off to a good start, try to have some positive vibes on this Monday, and I'm throwing barbs at Derek Carr. That's unnecessary. But that'll just about do it here for our show on this Monday. Gulf Coast Office Products brings you our show each and every Monday. Open things up talking about LSU and Bama from Tuscaloosa on Saturday night. Just a game that I turned on knowing LSU was going to lose, and they lost the game by 21 points, and they actually played really well on offense. They just had no answer for Alabama on the other end of the floor, and it kind of went the way you thought it might. So I talked about that one to open the show. I gave my thoughts on the NFC and AFC championship games from yesterday, Dan Campbell's decisions, whatever Zay Flowers is doing, and kind of thoughts as we get toward the Super Bowl. Billy Embody was with us at 1:30. You'll want to go back and catch that one, whether you do it on demand for audio or video. We'll have it up on the YouTube channel, Hunt on LSU. Billy was fantastic. It was a huge weekend for LSU recruiting with the Cajun Bash, and it yielded a commitment from Jabari Antoine, big-time player in the class of 2025. We also talked about Kendall Bussey and what his next week is going to look like as LSU ramps up that intensity to try to flip him from Texas A&M. You want all your latest recruiting information? First, go check out the guys over at Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 network. But he was with us, and you can check it out on demand. Billy does an awesome job and was all over all of that. I gave my reaction to the Saturday and Southeastern Conference hoops at the end of hour number 1. The start hour number 2 talked a lot about what I believe may be LSU's best pitcher this year, and that is left-hander Gage Jump. Kind of gave a scouting report on him, played some sound from Gage, and it kind of dovetailed into what is West Coast baseball become, because all the best players from those programs are now coming into the SEC to play, and Gage Jump is certainly one of those, and he said as much back on Friday, so go check that out at the top of hour number 2. Offensive coordinator situation for the Saints. We talked about that in hour number 2. I think that we kind of got it narrowed down to a list of 3, and I think that in the next 2 weeks you probably figure out who that offensive coordinator is. And then we also talked a little bit of baseball with D1 Baseball releasing their All-Americans list. Tommy White and Luke Holman make it for LSU. And, of course, we played some Take It or Leave It. That was our Monday show. If you missed it, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. All of our shows are there every single day. It's OTB, Live at Lunch, Hunt Palmer Show, AFR, all on the on-demand page. You can also find them Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find us. And, of course, on YouTube, Hunt on LSU for LSU football, Hunt on Saints for your Saints football. The guys are in Mobile for the Senior Bowl. You can catch them tomorrow on OTB. Matt's about to drive you home this afternoon on a Monday. We'll be back tomorrow, same time and same place, talking with Glenn West and Sharif Ishak about the Tigers and the Saints. Have a great Monday. See you tomorrow on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.